Research has concluded and supported the theory that incarceration develops negative effects on parent-child relationships. More specifically, how institutionalization affects the dynamic between a father and his child. Fathers account for 54% of inmates in prison. Since 1991, the number of children with a father in prison has grown 77%. The average incarcerated father is 32 years old, typically Black or Hispanic. He is more likely to be less educated, prone to drug and alcohol abuse, come from a disproportionately impoverished neighborhood, and possibly lack positive role models in his family of origin, all of which have the potential to inhibit parenting positively. These statistics prove to be true in reference to the father of this story. An early 30s Black father who was the primary source of financial support to his only child. Unfortunately, due to the lack of education and access to adequate financial resources, he fell victim to the cultural ideal of a hustler mentality. This father's 7-year sentence was to be carried out 8 hours away from his family. Over time, they became exhausted mentally and financially with having to travel to visit him in order to maintain a relationship. Additionally, the child's mother reported that his young son would become bored within 15 minutes of the visitation. Lack of child-friendly visitations repressed meaningful interaction between the father and his child. Quite often, his son would feel the burden of responsibility to maintain a relationship. Identity theory posits that father involvement will vary as a function of the importance with which the father views his role. Institutionalization alters the pre-prison fatherhood identity. Many inmate fathers express feeling disempowered and low self-esteem as a consequence of being unable to give protection, support, guidance, and discipline to their children. This frame of mind results in feeling devalued as a father. This identity alteration enhances the salient inmate identity. In prison, there are little to no opportunities to enact the father identity. However, there are several opportunities to enact the inmate identity. Furthermore, prison culture undermines the behaviors essential to parent successfully. Aggression, violence, and toxic masculinity discourages positive parenting behaviors such as compassion, empathy, and warmth. The impacts of incarceration on children are dynamic because incarceration is embedded of a myriad of tangible and intangible experiences that create impacts on children. However, research has reported that children display post-traumatic stress, social withdrawal, depression, confusion, academic failure, acting out, and acting in. Explicitly, incarceration seems to be developmentally challenging for boys. 80% of incarcerated fathers stated that they wish to improve their parenting skills and expressed a willingness to be active in parenting education to better understand their children. Research has found that previously imprisoned fathers' ideas about their relationship with their children are often unrealistic and unclear upon their re-entry into the free world. Specifically, this inmate father realized the need to rebuild his parent-child relationship with his son upon release. After 7 years of being in prison, he was released when his son was 16. Many important milestones in his son's life had come and gone. Missing out on key events in his son's life weakened his parental bond. In that, his desired communication with him was met with a moody teenage contempt. His son was accustomed to an absent father or predictable communication styles that he no longer had interest to self-disclose. Children of incarcerated or previously incarcerated fathers suffer short-term and long-term effects. Incarceration permanently shifts the dynamic of communication in parent-child relationships. Fathers should be aware and understand their re-entry into the family is a progressive transition. Quite often, they might find themselves disappointed or frustrated in their attempts to materialize an idealistic relationship with their children.